There's a new truck in the shop. That's right. I bought another one. I didn't pull it out of a barn or out of the woods or anything like that, but I did rescue it, you know, from an abusive owner. It was an interesting journey. We went from the fields of the Eastern Shore all the way up around the north side of the Chesapeake Bay into the I-95 corridor, and we picked the truck up. He was not keen on filming, but it is what it is. People are camera shy. I get it. And then we came down through on the east side of Baltimore and under the harbor through the tunnel and everything, and then across the Bay Bridge back to the Eastern Shore. So it's a lot of cool footage. Check it out. Enjoy the journey with us. And then we'll check the truck out. You can see what we got. So we're on our way to look at, you guessed it, a C10. Hasn't run in a long time. Apparently this guy bought it, started working on it. It was going to be his project. And then he tried to start it and it caught on fire. And now there's no more wiring. So that's been quite some time ago. He hasn't worked on it. He needs to get rid of it. So I'm going to see if I can take it off his hands for him. Stay tuned. Well, we got the truck. More on that in a minute. But first, sheets. We love us some sheets, and there are none where we live, so we're gonna get it while we can.
let's begin. First, it's not a C10, it's a C20. He was mistaken. I didn't get to see very many pictures of this thing before I went and looked at it. And it was decent enough, and I really wanted to try and save it. So what we have here is a 1969 Chevy C20. That is the 3/4 ton version with the 8 lug wheels. And it looks, at first blush, to be pretty decent. You can see there was some fiberglass work done here. And that's... But when you start looking a little closer, you start finding where the abuse happened. You gotta use our handy dandy special door opener tool here. Let's call it our hand. You look at it and you're like, oh, it's pretty solid. Looks pretty good. Until you get in a little closer, shine a little light on the subject. And then you can see, alright, so it had some rot there that they patched. But then you start looking and you're like, look at all the seam sealer and stuff that's coming out of it. That's weird. So I'm not sure if somebody patched this once before or not. It doesn't look like it. It's hard to say because it's got a bunch of primer all sprayed in there and then original paint elsewhere. But the top of this rocker here, the sill looks pretty good. The door itself is pretty decent. It's got, a little rot starting in there, but it's not bad. The issue comes with this rocker panel here. And then I saw it. It's spray foam. I thought I had seen it in one of the pictures. He'd obviously tried to hide it in the pictures, but it's not good. He admitted when I asked him about it that he had sprayed spray foam in there to fiberglass over. So I'm not sure how much of this is metal and how much is fiberglass, but that's something we're going to have to explore. Came with a bunch of parts. This is a rocker panel in there, a new battery tray, cab corners, 2 brand new exterior door handles. The rust issues continue back here. This bedside is, well, she's rough. That's what I'm going to say about that. The tailgate actually isn't terrible rust-wise, but, she's pretty wavy. There are no tail lights or anything, and of course all the wiring in the back is gone. This bedside appears to be better, with the exception of, I'm not really sure, it's got a weird curve to it there, and then of course that's rusted out. Bed floor, it's holier than the Pope. And we've got some more custom spray foam jobs in here. Well, we don't want to forget broken glass. That's a nice touch. 4 spare wheels though. That's kind of nice. This side does still have the handle on it. And this is where we get some more of that custom body work. We've got more spray foam back in there. It's got a brand new rocker that's just, screwed in. At least he managed to fit it like semi-okay, except for that big gap there. But the rest of it looks, okay-ish. But we're going to have to do something about that. You can see the doors rubbing and sticking real hard right there. The floor pan under the seat and everything looks pretty decent. This one though, yeah, there's holes. So we'll have to patch that up. The rest of it looks decent-ish. Most of the wiring is gone. You got your turn signals and whatnot coming out of the column right there. The gauge cluster is not installed at all, and there's nothing behind it. Nothing's connected to it. This door has some rot on the bottom. Seat, the seat's pretty nice. It's not bolted in or anything. Oh, the bed isn't bolted to it either, which I didn't know until I started going down the road with it. And then he shot me messages like, hey, you might want to put a strap on that bed. Thanks for the heads up, bud. Appreciate it. So, the fenders are okay-ish. Well, I take that back. That one's KO'd. But, overall, it's a pretty okay-ish truck. Let's see what's behind door number 3. That's pretty unreadable. There's the window cranks and the door handle. It's a shame somebody butchered that up. Ooh, owner's manual. Oh, brand new window cranks. Them are nice. More evidence of wiring disaster. What does purple wire mean? I don't know. It's not red or yellow, so it's not important, right? I guess black can be important too. Oh my. Moving on. Now, you might be asking yourself, why did you buy that? I know, it's rusty. And frankly, I'm gonna try and fix it, I think. We got that short bed out back that I'm gonna have to do a lot of body work to, and I thought, well, this truck would make a good guinea pig for that. It's not near as bad. The bed's probably just junk, so maybe build a flatbed for it or something. I don't know. It's not original. It's not the original engine or anything. At least that's what the guy told me. It's got a 4-speed in it and a 350, which is, kind of nice. That's one of the reasons I bought it. The other reason, look, I like to save these trucks, okay? And the way this truck's destiny was heading it was not good. Near as I can tell, it hasn't run since 2006. I found some receipts in it for some heater hoses and clamps and I can't remember what else, engine stuff, and like a radiator cap, stuff like that. So it tells me it might have had an overheating problem they were trying to correct. But either way, that was all from 2006. And when I put a socket on it and checked to make sure the engine would turn over, like I always do, she was stiff. I mean, stiff. I had to use a breaker bar to get her to move rather than just a ratchet. So it's been a minute since it ran. And this guy, when he bought it from the guy who was going to work on it and never did, he started to work on it. And of course, he stuck a battery in it, hooked the cables up, and tried to start it. And it caught on fire and burned the wiring harness all up in the engine bay. Hence, all the wirings tore out of it. So he never got it to run either. And I believe that because let me show you what I found in the gas tank. It's not rusty, but it looks like somebody's been peeing in it. And it smells like somebody vomited in it. I wish that we had smell-o-vision, because actually I really don't, because that really wouldn't be nice. But it's bad. It's bad. I think we can use the fuel tank, but we're going to have to get that old nasty fuel out of there that looks like pee and smells like puke. It's not rusty though, so that's a major plus. It looks like it was replaced, somebody started to do this project and then abandoned it. So as far as I'm concerned, it's in a better place now. Seriously. Abusive owners. Guys, if you're going to fix it right so that it's going to last. Or don't fix it and sell it and let somebody else fix it that is going to fix it right. Come on. Anyway, y'all ready to see the engine? It's probably the best part of the truck. There she is in all her glory. Pretty run-of-the-mill small block Chevy 350. It's got a little bit of window dressing on it. It's got some age on it, but that's okay. Still gonna be fun. Somebody put a Griffin radiator in it. Never heard of them before, but it might be good. We've got some more rust issues up here, which is unsurprising that the core support is also rusted out. Usually they go right below the battery tray, but you know, that's what it should look like down there. It looks like somebody at least tried to clean up and paint some stuff, and you know, it's got some rust up there on the firewall, which somebody already tried to license plate patch. I think the first order of business is, let's see if this engine runs, because if the engine's trashed, there's not a lot of usable stuff here, if you know what I'm saying. I mean, I guess you could patch the cab up and sell the cab to somebody, but other than that, not so much. One thing I did notice that's pretty cool, let me show you this. Well, I just noticed that cab mount. You know, it's a good thing they're fixing this rocker panel up to make it look good, so you can ignore the cab mounts. But headers and dump outs. If we do get her running, she's gonna sound pretty sweet. Let's see, we need some new cab mounts too. Somebody looks like they put a battery tray back here for it. Interesting. I've been poking around in here, and this is the wiring that was going into this thing. Are you kidding me? Not only that, but you know, it's got splices in it everywhere. It's not good. So I think I'm gonna tear this mess out of here, and we're going to go ahead and hook this back up. Y'all remember this from the 67 revival? It'll work for this too. It does have battery cables. No battery tray, but maybe I can sit that new one in here just enough to kind of hold it. And then we're going to hook that up and see if we can get the motor to spin. Maybe dump a little fuel in it, see if it fires, and go from there. Welcome to Underneath the Truck, where I'm discovering new soft lines and a new bleeder there, and a new hard line right there, and then I've got this wire hanging here that I need to get mounted up there on that starter. So I'll knock that out real quick. Looking around down here, it doesn't look terrible. Looks like the transmission leaks a little oil, but you know, what doesn't? Time to take a peek at where we've gotten. So I've got a few wires out of there. One goes to the positive side of the coil. No, it does not have a resistor. I know it should, but we're going to give her a little extra spark. It's not going to run for long. It'll be fine. The other one runs over, and it goes down. You can kind of see it peeking behind the distributor there. That goes down to the starter solenoid. And then the other one is the power wire, which comes up here and has a fuse on it. So hopefully we can avoid fires. That's the idea anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and figure out a battery tray in here so I can set a battery in it. Well, the battery tray that came with this thing is actually for a 88 to 02 Chevy truck or a 92 to 94 Blazer. So yeah, that doesn't work. So we're improvising. We got her jammed in here pretty secure. I don't think it's going to go anywhere. We got the positive, you know, secured. We're going to go ahead and do the fire test with the negative here. Make sure nothing goes woof. Alright, let's go ahead and crank that down. And then we can see if it'll spin over. Well, that's pretty stripped, so I think we're going to, you know, clamp-a-late that one too. Let's hit the starter button and see if she spins over. Nothing. And I do mean nothing. Well, folks, that's intriguing. Let's dig in. Well, I did some poking and prodding with the test light, and I've got power everywhere that there should be power. Stuck a big screwdriver down in there, tried to direct jump the starter. Nothing. Nada. Checked. Little push button starter. Little push button for the starter. It sends power down there. Got power to the coil. Everything checks out except the starter. Pretty sure that means we got a bum starter. I mean, that might be what melted everything down to begin with. I don't know. But she is dead. And I don't have one. So I'm going to see what I can do about that, because I don't know about you, but I want to hear it run. I got another story from the parts store. Went to go get a new starter, because, you know, the starter was junk. And there's only a few different ways that they've done these starters over the years. 2 different mountings to the bell housing, 2 different mountings to the block that I can think of off the top of my head in this time period. So I knew the engine wasn't original, and I figured it's probably not the original style starter, but I mean, who knows? It didn't really change much. So the first hurdle was when she asked me what engine was in it, and I said, it's a 350. She's looking at the screen for a second, then she turns the screen to me so I can see it, and then just stares at me with a blank stare. And I look at the screen and I see, you know, they're in liters. And apparently she doesn't know that a 350 is 5.7 liters. I mean, they've only been making the engine for what, 70 years? You would think you would know that. We got past that, and we looked up a 69 C20, and sure enough, you know, it's not the same. This hole is actually on this side, on that one, so it's the other style, you know, it's clocked wrong. So I said, well, let's look at a 1970 C10 with the 350. I mean, sorry, 5.7 liter. So we looked that up, and the picture's right, it's the right one. And I'm like, all right, cool. So the first one, they didn't have that one. And this one, she's like, we don't have this one either. And I'm like, you guys don't stock a small block Chevy starter? No, it doesn't look like it. I'm like, that's kind of weird, because they're pretty common. And she's like, well, hold on. And she goes and she gets the manager or whatever, and he comes over and he's like, yeah, we have one of those right here, see? And points out to her on the screen. Not only was it one that was like $40 cheaper, but they actually had it in stock. So long story short, she was pretty inept. And it's sad, because a Chevy 350 starter has got to be one of the most common parts out there, right? I mean, how could a parts store not stock those and know what they are? Again, I'm left wondering, am I the only person in like a tri-county area that works on this old junk? I don't know. Let's get it jammed in there, see what happens. It's a few days later, like a week. So last weekend I went and got a starter, and I was trying to put it in there, and it would not go in there. After an extraordinary amount of off-camera cussing, I have figured out why it won't fit. Let me get down there and I'll show you what I found, and then we'll see if we can fix it and, you know, put it in the hole so that it, you know, does its thing. What we have here is where the starter goes. And we have this hole and this hole here that go in the bottom of the starter, and then there's one in the very top, which is really hard to see, right up there. And it's hard to judge the distance on the camera, but it's really close to the block on the engine, which incidentally, this block is provisioned for the block mounted starter, but it had the bell housing mounted starter on it, so that's what I got for it. So if this doesn't work, I think we're going to get a block mounted, and hopefully that'll work. I don't know. I have a plan. Anyway, that distance there, it's small. And here on the starter, that top bolt hole has a lot of metal on it. And you can see where it was hitting against the block there. So I need to try and trim that a little bit. So that's what we're gonna do. This should work. Look, it's really important that you engage your safety squints when you're doing this. You don't want to get this stuff in your eyes. It would also be slightly helpful, you know, if this was mounted to something, but it's not, so, you know, we make do. That looks better. Stupid. Well, the starter is in. It was unpleasant, but it's, you know, in and bolted and the wires are on, and we did the smoke test and no sparks or smoke, so I'm gonna push the button and see what it does. It appears that the water pump is stuck, which doesn't bother me too much. And it is rolling over kind of slow, which makes sense because when I tried to spin it earlier by hand, it went, but it felt tight. So I think we're gonna do the right thing and just take the belt off, dump some gas in it, and see what happens. That sounds fun. Yeah, I'd say that's stuck. Let's give her a little juice here. Let's see if it does anything. Maybe our battery's down. Alright, we've got the charger on it. We're gonna crank her way up. We're gonna go ahead and try her again and see what she does. It made noise. Let's see if we can get it to make noise for, you know, longer. There's another giveaway on the channel. Super clean. It's super awesome. Links in the description. Go click it. There's a couple different ways you can enter, and you'll be able to win a box of Super Clean products. The full description's on there, but I'm gonna tell you what, this all wheel cleaner did wonders on the wheels of my daily driver. I'm gonna tell you what, I didn't think they would ever be shiny again, but they can be with Super Clean. Go enter the giveaway. It's awesome. Well, we got some fuel in it. Now it's time to test out this fuel pump. We're gonna go ahead and prime her up with some brake clean again and see if we get anything pumped up into this filter here. The filter looks good, so I'm hoping that that all still functions, because I really don't want to mess with fuel pump, because we already have the whole water pump issue. So, you know, enough's enough. We'll give her a little of this. And then we'll see what it does. Well, the fuel pump works because we've got a pretty good leak up here. So we're going to pop this fuel line off of here. It's probably got a crack in the back. We'll trim that up, put it back on, and see if that'll fix that problem. Now, how did they get that on there? That's a pretty small hole. Let's see here. It's also really stiff. Alright, we got that hose leak there fixed up, so let's go ahead and crank on her some more and see what happens. That could be an issue. We're just gonna pretend we didn't notice that. It'll be, you know, fine right there. And let's see if we can just get it to actually run.
Well, there you have it. It runs. Needs to tune up. It's obviously missing. We're gonna have to figure that out. But whole water pump thing too. I think it might have water in it and be frozen. So we may not be out of the woods yet, but it runs. That's step one. So that's gonna be the end of the video. I know, bummer, right? If you want to see what happens next time when we actually try and move it, make sure you hit the subscribe button. And if you like the video, hit the like button. I appreciate it. Thanks for watching another episode of My Legacy Garage. We'll see you next time.